Now, this new generation of hip-hop fans, it's a very different generation, and I think a lot of people forget this. With every passing year, hip-hop's been getting bigger, more popular, and more relevant to the world in general. And with every single passing year, we also move further and further from the traditional sound of this genre. This came to mind when I was thinking about old school rappers. I was thinking about someone like Nas, a rapper who'll go down as an iconic figure to hip-hop. His impact has been cemented deeply into the rap culture. He's been here since it all started, since day one, but I want to ask you this. Exactly how relevant is Nas to this new generation of hip-hop fans? The truth is, not so much at all. That's not me taking away anything from an icon like Nas. That's me looking at reality for what it is. This new wave of young rappers coming up right now are the ones running things because they're more relevant to this new generation than an OG like Nas. There's a reason why the old head mentality won't be around for a very long time. Hip-hop is growing by the second. It's clearly the genre that's dominating every streaming service out there. Impact-wise, it's influencing every part of the music world. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is looking at rap to see what the cool sound is. That's how popularity is getting measured nowadays. But with all these young rappers coming up, you wonder who's exactly listening to these guys. The answer to that question is the young generation of hip-hop fans, the youth, the kids, whatever you want to call it. The way I see it is, to a lot of new generation hip-hop fans, old school hip-hop is almost becoming a distant memory. It's a thing in the past that they don't have any kind of connection to. Obviously, that's how it all started, but if we compare any 90s rappers to any rapper out right now, you're gonna see a huge contrast, and that's all because of how fast the sound has been evolving and changing. Musically speaking, rap is more accessible and more digestible than it's ever been. You don't really need to understand it to listen to it, and back in the 90s, for example, that wasn't necessarily true. If you weren't familiar with the injustices Tupac dealt with on the daily as a black man, you just couldn't relate to a lot of the things he talked about. I'm definitely cherry picking here though, because yes, he did have a lot of tracks like Dear Mama, which is universal. But don't forget that Pac was somewhat of an activist as well, and he used his records to shed light on the things that went on in his community that no one cared to talk about. The point I'm trying to make is the fact that hip-hop in 2020 is so easy to listen to is exactly what's made the success of this genre skyrocket like crazy. This is also why hip-hop fans are getting younger and younger. Not only is it easily accessible through streaming services, but it's not too complex for the young ones. These are also the fans who have a hard time appreciating that 90s sound because they didn't grow up on it, which is understandable. Like I said a few videos back, I would pick Lil Wayne over Tupac any day because Wayne was the first rapper I got into. So the majority of new gen hip-hop fans not being appreciative of that old sound isn't so strange. By the way, this ain't no different from Roddy Ricch saying that he looks up to Future and Thug instead of Tupac and Biggie. Roddy Ricch ain't no different from the millions of young hip-hop fans who wouldn't consider any 90s rappers as their personal favorites. Most of the time, of course not always, but most of the time you relate to what's relevant to your era. This new generation of hip-hop fans simply live in the moment. That's why some of the most atrocious rappers have an actual fan base. It's not so much about supporting what's quote-unquote real, but more so about supporting what benefits you as a listener, because there ain't no barriers on what you can listen to, and the sound in many ways is more simplistic than ever. It's also more complex thanks to technology, but I think the crazy amount of change that's occurred in hip-hop these past 20 years, musically speaking, has led to hip-hop artists having more resources so they can then produce better sounding records. And that right there, that's the name of the game. It gotta sound good for people to listen.